Hello, welcome to the sideboard here at the StarCityGames.com Standard Open in Dallas, part of the SCG Tour, brought to you by Ultimate Guard. I'm Nick Miller alongside Brennan DeCandio, a brewer and favorite here on the tour. It's Ixalan. We got new standard. This is the best time of the year.
Always. It's like Christmas and
two
whatever,
sets,
you know.
just been pushed away, and now we have Ixalan and a new standard format. What are we doing here?
Something old, something new. The last format was pretty big on the God-Pharaoh's Gift variants, mostly, you know, with like the Jeskai versions, blue, red splashing, white for Angel comparison. But we're doing something similar like that, but with the loss of Insolent Neonate, which is probably the best card in the deck for enabling Gate to the Afterlife. We had to move colors a little bit, so we're trying black in the deck as well. For a couple cards, some removal spells like Fatal Push, but also a couple new Ixalan cards in Seeker, Squire, and Hostage Taker. So
right. We expected Hostage Taker to get some attention in the standard format. This card is very good. It's already been errated because there's some wacky text on this card.
Yeah, you know.
But Seeker Squire, this is one saw some limited play at the pre-release.
I didn't get to go,
I didn't expect this to be showing up in standard right away.
So the Explore mechanic is very, very powerful. It usually is seen on like higher casting cost cards because of its power level. The upside of having a 2-drop card which just draws a card is extremely high. I don't think they could print a 1-mana Explore card. It might be too good at that point. But this card does almost everything you want for the gift strategies, because it either bins a card that you don't really want and you want to fuel your Gate to the Afterlife with, putting a creature in the graveyard early on, and having a reasonable blocker as a 2/3. Or you get to either keep a card, which is like a removal spell, or chart the course or something like that, but also just finding the land for card count and being a creature itself has been very, very, you know, kind of the role filler you need.
There are a lot of questions coming into this event was, is Explore going to be constructed playable? Because a lot of people saw it at the pre-release, said it was okay, but they didn't know if it was attached to enough powerful cards to make an impact in the standard format. From talking to you and talking to some other people, I've already seen multiple Explore creatures registered for this event, mostly the 2-drops.
Yeah, the Branch Walker and the Seeker Squire, the black and green ones. They are very, very good. Those are the two, like I said, I think it belongs on a 2-mana card to be playable, not a 3-mana one. There's the 3-mana 2/2 that ETBs and Explorers, but again, the cost on that's pretty difficult. But no, one of the awkward things with building decks with this is that you want to play them in decks with higher land counts, so usually the green one overlaps with decks want to play a 2 with Aether, which can be awkward but still playable. But I think they go into a lot of two-color decks that don't want a tune or something like that. But this is definitely one of them that just wants the random body to either, you know, trade with if against mono red, or just chump block with against other decks too. And definitely a card that I think we'll learn to respect more as the format goes on, some of the Explore mechanic creatures.
Right, so moving in onto your deck, the previous iterations were Jeskai. We're now in the Esper shell, as you mentioned. We got rid of the red cards, so we have to make up with that somewhere. We have Minister of Inquiry still, but I think we have to mention, you know, along with Champion Wits, we have Chart a Course, which is one of the possibly most breakout cards of Ixalan for all of Magic, I think.
It's probably, so we've had a lot of draw 2 and discard effects. Usually that always have costed 3 mana. I don't think there's ever been a printing of a draw 2 and then discard a card effect for 2 ever.
Catalog, maybe?
That costs 3.
Oh,
everything costs 3. That's the thing. I think it's the first one they've ever printed that does that. And while people are hyped about the raid enabled part of it, where you just draw 2 for 2 mana, I think that's actually the least powerful of the 2 modes, essentially, on the card. Where a deck like this wants to just fuel its graveyard while digging through things to smooth out its curve. I'm only playing 2 this weekend. I did need to keep the creature count higher, I think, for the Gate to the Afterlife. But in other versions of the deck where I was trying with Refurbish, which this one's not playing, I didn't even play Gate to the Afterlife. I was just all in on drawing and discarding the gift and then refurbishing it immediately. But it proved to be a little bit too clunky. I wanted more creatures like the Seeker Squire to come into play, so went with that instead.
So more powerful, the mode where you're not raiding, so to speak, just putting a card in the graveyard, getting your gift online earlier. Now, we mentioned Hostage Taker in passing as just one of the Ixalan cards. What's its role in this deck? And then we'll move on to the real show stealer of Ixalan that you have in this Esper deck.
I think actually Hostage Taker is probably the best card in this set for what it does. I didn't feel that way until I played against it a few times. I was testing just with some friends at home one time, and I had a Register Alpha and play the dinosaur that makes a 3/3 token. And they could either Hostage Taker the 3/3 token, but they chose to get for the Register Alpha. And if you have a removal spell, or if they have a Siren Stormcaller or Sword Tamer to protect it or something like that, then it just casts the card. And the tempo swing of that wasn't really known to me until I played with the card. And after seeing it in action, I just was saying, I'm playing a deck this weekend with 4 copies of Hostage Taker, no matter what I'm doing. And this is one of the ones I came to. So
right, looks very powerful. Now we've got Vona.
Yes.
Butcher of Magan, I hope I'm saying that correctly.
Probably not, but that's okay.
But this is the card that made you go to the Esper shell when you're looking at God-Pharaoh's Gift.
So it's another 5-drop creature, which we've fiddled around with playing like Cataclysmic Leader Hulk and other things like that. The Scarab God makes an appearance too, both of which are in the sideboard, but I think the lifelink is more relevant, especially here and now, week 1, where we're technically playing against more red decks. The flexibility of the card to pay 7 life and kill anything is really good attached with the God-Pharaoh's Gift because you give haste, and it helps you catch back up while not destroying your own life. And you know, it's a reasonable card to cast too. Like mono red, I think other versions are playing, as far as removal goes, little to no Chandra's main deck, but all are playing 4 strike, 4 braid, 4 shock, and none of those hits that. So they have to really get through it with either a Hazret or a Crasher. And that can be difficult if you're trying to keep pace with them and play just normal game plan of creatures, which this version of the deck I think plays a more normal game plan better than the previous versions because they had so many card disadvantage cards. Like, well, it was powerful, it didn't net you a card anyway, it just fueled your Gate to the Afterlife very quickly. So you're less all in, but I think you have a bit more power in a normal game too.
Yeah. Also, once you get set up, you have so much power with these cards.
Yes.
Being able to exile any problem permanent or destroy any problem permanent is very good.
If you get exiled, dear lord, it would just be killing Hazards left and right, but definitely gives you a lot of flexibility. I can only imagine how miserable a mirror match would probably feel because it's whoever would Gate or God-Pharaoh's Gift second, because you can only use the card on your turn, so you can't prevent them from using it. But if you get your second and kill their gift without your guy, it's kind of a nightmare. So it's kind of the weird marveling second, so you don't hit like an Ulamog that gets Ulamog by them kind of thing. But hopefully that's not going to come up too often, but we'll see. And
a lot of people brought up that, you know, Scarab God is a card that could shut this deck down.
Yeah, but that card,
this gives you a way to just take care of it every turn.
Every turn. Not many decks are going to be able to keep up with you that quickly and get to, you know, the 9 mana to play and activate it, as much as you can just keep attacking with your guy and also killing the Scarab God. You know, the net is like they lose 4 life, they lose 4 life, you lose 3 life. But if you also have the card which we're still playing for of Angel Invention, which really just is the hallmark card for this strategy, many decks just can't beat a 6/6 vigilant flying lifelink hasty creature, and that's just still the best thing to be doing. But
rest of the deck here we have, you know, Fatal Push is your removal spell, then you've got your split of 4 and 2, you know, with the gate and all that.
Pretty standard stuff. Fatal Push just super important. Killing anything out of red. Longest Cubs is one of the biggest problems in the format to have Tiny enters for, and dealing with that's pretty great. So.
Okay, so where do you think this deck's situated coming into this event? Because everyone was talking, you know, Team Energy, Mono Red, these are the decks you have to be on the lookout for this week. Is there enough room for these other decks? And this is kind of a combination of old and new, as we said at the beginning.
Using a lot of cards in a lot of different sets here, but yes. I think you're pretty favored against the Teamer Energy decks. You kind of go over the top in a lot of ways. Even with multiple braids, like I said, you play a normal game plan better than you used to. And they have a hard time keeping up with some of the cards you're doing while stopping what you're doing too. Mono Red, it can be tough, but I also have never lost a game where I've gotten to get 1 gift trigger and get an Angel back. I think a 6/6 lifelink is too much for them to ever beat. They can, but it's very convoluted and doesn't happen very often. But good against those two. The other deck I think is going to be one of the breakout decks of this event is going to be the Approach the Second Sun decks. While we don't have the greatest game 1 against them because you have like Fatal Pushes and no way to interact with what they're doing, you are very resilient because your creatures are either value in some way, whether it be the Squire getting you a card, Champion of Wits, which 7 mana is just a careful consideration attached to a creature on a 4/4 body, which is good. But you have a lot of options in the sideboard to fight those things, especially with some of the new cards in Ixalan, which I don't know why they gave us Duress back, but they gave us Duress back, and I've been pretty down on ever playing a card like Transgress the Heart, or Transgress the Mind and Lay Bare the Heart, because 2 mana and 1 mana is just leagues of difference in mana, because being able to cast a spell to disrupt them and cast your threat card at the same turn is just what you want to be doing with this card. Usually firing it off in the early turns isn't really the correct thing to do, but Duress just lets you completely dismantle what they're trying to set up in the late games of the game.
So we moved into the sideboard. You already mentioned 4 copies of Duress.
The correct version.
Got to get them all in here. You got the right art. These are the ones I play as well, so
fair enough.
Good on you there. We got 3 Negate, a card that's been a staple in most of the decks that can play blue.
It's a lot of the reasons people play blue in this format. Even like the energy decks, like the green-black energy deck, can't really beat the Approach deck without a sideboard playing of blue cards.
Then we have Vraska's Contempt here, another new card. Just answer to whatever. You know,
one of the vulnerabilities I can see with this deck is fighting the mono red sideboard plan of going bigger. Glorybringer, Chandra's, Vance's Blasting Stations, all let them grind you much later. And if they have ways to answer your God-Pharaoh's Gift while putting pressure on your early turns, it's really a recipe that you don't want to fight no matter what you're playing. And Vraska's Contempt answers Hazret, answers Glorybringer, answers Chandra pretty efficiently. So the gain 2 life is very relevant. And there's a lot of creatures you just want to exile too, like Scrap Heap Scoundrels or Urshkir Kenros, you know, just good all around. It's a little costly at 4 mana, but I think it's worth the give and take on that one. So,
with the abundance of Hazret we expect to be in this format, being able to answer that card is very relevant. 2 Cataclysmic Gear Hulk, we saw this back in the Jeskai version. Then you have 2 Scarab Gods of your own and another Fatal Push. Scarab God coming in, mirrors and just really big matchups.
It's good against Teamer. I think you bring it against Mono Red. I haven't really figured that part of it out just because it has a 5th toughness. just to stabilize against the Glowbringer and Chandra part of it. But it helps you play, like I said, a more fair game plan when they're bringing in more ways to fight your God-Pharaoh's Gift part. You just play the Scarab God, and they just, sure, they can get your graveyard, but if they have something too, you know, it's kind of lights out for them in a lot of ways. But Gearhulk also just a layover from the previous format, also good against the hidden stockpile decks, which can be a problem if they just go wide enough. You know, Marionette Master, hidden stockpile, and some treasures, just a lot of damage out of nowhere, but helps stabilize against any go wide deck. So.
All right, so lastly, you know, Brad Nelson mentioned he's been watching your stream a lot this week, seeing you play a bunch of different decks and saying, you know, these decks just aren't quite good enough as the other decks. Do you think you figured it out now? Do you think this is the deck where you wanted to be week one? Or
I have no idea what's going on here. I wanted to do this because I felt it was powerful, resilient, and a cool thing to do, and I wanted to try it at least. I feel like I would regret not playing this deck more than anything else in the format, so I wanted to try it, and it is very powerful. It might be like as refined as the previous format's versions were, but I definitely don't want to regret not playing a deck, and this is what I do the most.
All right, well, you're going to get that chance. We're in round 1 right now, but you're going to be on camera most likely round 3 battling with this deck, so we wish you the best of luck. Thanks for joining me here in the sideboard. Stay tuned to StarCityGames.com all week long for the action here in Dallas.